you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus went out into the hills to pray, and he spent the whole night in prayer to God. When day came, he summoned his disciples and picked out 12 of them. He called them apostles. Simon, whom he called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon called the Zealot, Judas, son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. He then came down with them and stopped at a piece of level ground where there was a large gathering of his disciples with a great crowd of people from all parts of Judea and from Jerusalem and from the coastal region of Tyre and Sidon, who had come to hear him and be cured of their disease. People tormented by unclean spirits were also cured, and everyone in the crowd was trying to touch him because power came out of him that cured them all. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
He went into the hills to pray and spent the whole night in prayer to God. One of our theme of sharing in the readings last week is that the more we engage ourselves in the pastoral ministry or in the pastoral mission of God and the mission of the church, the deeper we are called to find a place of solitude, a moment of silence, to engage ourselves, to re-energize, to realign our attitudes, our minds, our life and mission in accordance with God. And we hear that again in both readings, that an integral part of being in disciples, or to be in discipleship, to be on mission with Christ, is first and foremost embrace this deep truth, which is also part of our mystery, that God has a stake in our life. Or in Fijian, no one is born by accident or been called out of the blue, because God wills it, God permits it, and God has put a stake in each and every one of us because of the virtue of his incarnations, which we share, as St. Paul beautifully put it in the first reading in his letter to the Christians in Colossae. We all have been circumcised, not physically but spiritually, whereby we no longer live for ourselves. We no longer belong to ourselves but to Christ because of baptism. So because of that, we resemble the mystery of the unseen realities of God. We become the manifestation, or in the Latin words, whenever the priest says Mass, priest personify Christ, in persona Christi. And that is the truth about the call to discipleship. We personify the hidden realities of God the Father through Christ. And whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not, that is the underlying principle of not only our vocations and ministry, but our life here on earth. Regardless of whatever vocation and ministry that God has called us to. And in the gospel, sort of reconfirms to us about this special calling out from our own ordinary way of life to an extraordinary way and ministry that God has called us to. That God never created junk or second-class citizens because He wills it. He has a purpose for that particular person. He bestows on that person, including you and me, the faculties, the power, the authority, the mandate to be His disciples. But the manner and the way in which He called His disciples, as we hear in the gospel today, He retired again into a place of solitude, a place of silence. And He spent the whole night in prayer before He chooses His disciples. And on the next day, the next morning, and then He called His disciples and He sort of commissioned them. The very first ministry that Jesus engages the disciples with Him was go out into those who are there in the margins, in the peripheries, the poor, the sick, his new families, the families of Anuin, the sinners, the rejected, those tormented with diseases and evil spirits. So these are the people that Jesus, throughout His entire public ministry, engages His mission and ministry with. Dear brothers and sisters, this goes to show, how the option for the poor and those who have been pushed into the margins were at the heart of the ministry and the mission of Jesus. So having said that, in this COVID-19 experience, the Holy Father, Pope Francis, reminds us, what a wonderful opportunity, golden opportunity for us to see God regenerating creation. Not so much with those who are up there in the authority, those up there in leadership authority in the churches or in the government leaders, but regenerating creation again with those who are very much victims of this COVID-19, unemployed, the sick, the poor, and through them, God reveals His power. He manifested what it means to be in discipleship in this weather, in this situation. Arthur Ledger, in one of his homily last year, he said, this COVID-19 has taught us to live a spirituality based on lockdown spirituality. What it means to be living in a lockdown situation. It can be moments of solitude and silence to see and meditate and contemplate deeply of how God is very much at work in today's pandemic world. So more than ever now, we need that lockdown spirituality to physically distance ourselves from areas, things in life that so often obscure our image and vision about God, our intimate relationship with Christ. What are those things in our life? It can be, even though despite the fact that Pope Francis mentioned social media has no longer become the side door or the back door, it becomes the front door. And that's why you are watching this live stream mess. So social media plays an important part in the works of evangelization. But we need to ask ourselves, how many hours do we spend in front of what Saint Teresa of Avila said? Beware of the devil's box. Different sizes of devil's box. It comes in the big screen, and even it comes in the small size like this. How many hours do we spend? Good morning, Leandra. Come and have breakfast. Oh, I'm busy at the moment. So these are things that if we are not careful with, can become a deterrent. It can obscure our vision and our intimate relationship with God. And it also can prevent us from moving away to a place of solitude and silence. So Jesus reminding us, the more we engage ourselves in this intimate relationship with God through prayer and solitude, the more we receive the energy, the power. As we hear in the gospel today, when he came back after prayer, everyone in the crowd was trying to touch him because power came out from him. We can also resemble the power within us, not the power of our own, but the power from God. When we are in intimate relationship with God, people can see God manifesting himself in our life, in our words, in our relationship. So let us beg for the grace of to be intimate, to be in unity, in relationship with God, with Christ. We now bring our intentions, our petitions before our Heavenly